What is your maiden name?
Brown.
And your parents' full name?
Rose Ann Brown and William Brown Sr.
Okay. Your mother's maiden name?
Jenna. And my daddy, I think her name was Fig. I think and his daddy, I think, was William. Wow.
Okay.
Tonight I'm going to share the story of my mom and our visit to the place where she grew up. And I'll start by saying in or about 1999, the family and I took a vacation from Seattle back to our native home, Hammond, Louisiana. There were 7 of us, my husband, Wilbert Eugene Square Sr., and me, Celia, and my elder son, Massa Wilbert Square Musa, and his then wife, Avril, my nephew, Carl Kelly, and his wife, my niece, Michelle, and their son, Christopher. After visiting our folks in Hammond, we decided to take a trip to my parents' birthplace, which is located in White Castle, Louisiana. So we all loaded in our vehicle and traveled to White Castle. After arriving there, we enjoyed visiting and fellowshipping with a few relatives. And then we drove around the town to see how things had changed. And while riding around, we saw a sign that read, Nottoway Plantation. Our folks had told us about slave owners and plantations, so we were curious and wanted to check it out. So we drove in and parked on the parking lot. We discovered that the plantation house that the slave owners lived in had been converted into a bed and breakfast historic tourist attraction and is now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It is now called the Nottoway Plantation House. Everybody got out of the vehicle and went on a tour of the plantation house except my mom and me. We just sat in the vehicle and talked and reminisced and talked some more. Finally, I said, Mom, don't you want to go inside and tour the place? She said, no, honey. I said, okay. And I began to talk again. After a while, I said, Mom, this place looks very familiar. And I feel like I've been here before. I said, I don't know what it is and why I feel like I've been here before. It's strange. And I said, there is so much sugar cane growing all over the place. Acres and acres of nothing but sugar cane. As far as the eye could see, hundreds of sugarcane fields. What she said next just blew me away. I had to swallow to hold back the tears. She said, baby, I grew up here. She said in the 1920s, our families and many other families used to chop down sugar cane from the early morning to late in the evening. He pointed to one patch of sugar cane and said, you see right over there? That's where my mama, your grandmother's house was located. And she said, right over there is where your Aunt Eveline and Aunt Adeline lived. He pointed to another patch of cane and says, right over there is where you and your brothers and sisters used to play when we brought you over here for a visit. He said, you see, it just brings back too many memories. is why I don't have any desire to go inside of that place. My son Massa, who is a history buff and wanted to hear every detail surrounding our family's history as it relates to the Nottoway Plantation. To date, he has collected a lot of information and continues to do so in order to one day produce possibly a documentary of our ancestry.